Hi, I'm Emily. Welcome to episode 3 of Holding the Sticks, a hockey themed fiber arts podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my craft room here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. My name is Emily. I'm also known as Shanti Dragon on Ravelry and Emily3022 on Plurk and on Twitter. I'd like to take a moment before I start the podcast to remember the victims of the terrible shooting that happened in Newtown, Connecticut last Friday. I have lit a candle in memory of the victims and in the hopes that we can as a society come together and figure out how to make this better. I'm not going to talk a lot about that. I know a lot of people like to watch podcasts as an escape from the everyday stresses of life, but I could not allow this to go unmentioned today. So I would just like to take a moment to remember those who were lost. I've lit a candle, like I said, in the memory of those who were lost and also in solidarity with those who were left behind. There aren't words to express the feelings that many of us have regarding this tragedy or the absolute horror that must have occurred in the school that day. But my candle is right here, and I just wanted to keep that lit through the podcast just as a remembrance. So let's get started. All right. So, as far as administrative things go this week, I have started the Ravelry group for Holding the Sticks, and I will link to that in the show notes. I already have quite a few members. Thank you so much to those of you who have joined. We've had a few pleasant conversations already, and I'm so happy that y'all are interested enough to come on by and join the group. So if you are interested, like I said, I'll link it in the show notes so you can join too. Also, I would like to send a big thank you out to somebody who sent me a random act of patterns last week. I was gifted Crosswords at the Coffee Shop by Carrie Steinmetz, who has left behind an incredible legacy of fun and kindness. I never knew Carrie, but I knew of her, and I love that this random act of patterns has been spreading throughout the knitting community. I'm not mentioning who sent me that random act of pattern because I don't have her permission. I'm not sure she even knows that I podcast, but I'm so thankful, and you know who you are. So that was a really fun thing to receive in my inbox, and I can't wait to cast on that Crosswords at the Coffee Shop after my holiday knitting has finished. Also wanted to mention that there might not be a podcast next week. I usually record on Mondays, and a week from today is Christmas Eve. My mom is coming to visit me. I'm so excited and look forward to seeing her And I just don't want to lock us into having to record if Mom isn't feeling like doing that. So I'm hoping she'll come and be on the podcast with me and be my guest, because she's a big hockey fan too, and she knits and does all kinds of fun fibery things, knits and quilts and all kinds of things. So hopefully we can do that. But we'll see. We like to play it by ear when we get together. Okay. So, in the rest of the podcast today, I'll just give you a quick overview so you can decide if you want to skip any segments or not. I'll, of course, in the first period, talk about my fiber arts projects. In the second period, I will talk about help for rough, dry hands that I know I get in the wintertime, and maybe you do too. I'll have a short little fitness tip as well. Of course, in the third period, I'll have hockey talk about my checkers, and a little question to see if y'all would be interested in a certain thing in that segment. And also, for the post-game chatter, I will just talk about what I've been up to, the Christmas parties I've been to, and the preparations that I'm making for the big day. So, let's get started. Alright, it's time for the first period in developing play. The Nidaria shawl that I had shown on the first podcast and the Fair Isle mittens are still sitting on the bench this week. They didn't get any love at all. We're coming down to the wire with that Christmas knitting, so I've been doing that all week. Hopefully next week or next podcast I will get to show you a few other things, those things and some other things that I'm hoping to cast on soon. So, on the stick handling segment for my fiber arts projects, things that are in progress, I am currently working on a present for my mom. So, Mom, if you are watching, you don't have to fast forward or anything. Just close your eyes or look away until I tell you that it's all right. So, I'm not going to say much about what I'm knitting, but here it is. Here's what I have so far, and I will put a little subtitle on the screen to tell you what this is. But I'm having a good time with this one. I'm sure some of y'all who are hockey fans recognize this right here. So yes. That will not be linked in the show notes, just in case, because I don't want Mom to see what it is. But like I said, I'll put a subtitle so you can find information if you want to knit one too. So there's that. And also on my needles, pardon me just one moment, I just cast this one on. This is for my husband. And I will be watching with him if he decides to watch this. We always do a quality check before I post the podcast. So I can just fast forward through this for him. So I am knitting for my husband to put in his Christmas stocking. Let me see what the name of this is. I crack up when I read this name. This is Fester the Whole Goat by Jenny Stacy. There's an entire story behind this pattern and Fester the Goat. If you look at the pattern page, there are links to the threads, I believe. It's a pretty hysterically funny story, but my husband really loves goats, and I haven't gotten very far, so I'll just show you. I just have this little bit I've just cast on for the head. So, those two things I need to get finished by Christmas Eve. Hopefully I won't be up half the night Christmas Eve finishing those up. For that first project, which I never told Mom you can look again. I never told Mom she could look again. Sorry. There was nothing to see on the goat if you were still looking away. But anyway, for that first project, I am using a size 8 needle or 5mm, and I'm knitting that with my Red Heart Super Saver, everybody's favorite yarn. So, the second project, the goat that I just showed you, that's being knitted with some Knit Picks Wool of the Andes roving that I spun up. So it's hand spun yarn. I have that's just a natural color, and then I have some gray Icelandic that I spun. It came with my spinning wheel. I actually have some of it right here. And you see it's real rustic. So I have a little scrap of it that I'm using for the other part of that goat. So that's what I've got in progress. I didn't have any Spinorama this week. You can't have Spinorama every week. You know how that goes. But I have quite a few finished objects. Unfortunately, I had to send most of them to work with my husband today so that he could get them mailed off in time for Christmas. So a lot of these I'll just be inserting a photo to show you what I have finished. But it's been a very good knitting week, actually. First of all, I finished a Chubby Chirp. That's a pattern by Rebecca Danger. It's a little bird. And here's a picture of my Chubby Chirp. And I just love how he turned out. I knitted him with some hand spun. It was the Ashland Bay merino that you can get just about anywhere, really. It was in the Mojave color, and I knitted him on size 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles, and the beak was just some leftover Cascade 220 that I had around. So I really love that one. I want to knit some more of those because I want one for my Christmas tree too. And second of all, I finished the actually, you didn't know I was doing two. I finished the Turn a Square hat that I was doing for my brother-in-law. And then I knitted another one for my, as I call him, my might as well be brother-in-law, Sean. So here's a picture of those two hats. And those were just knit with scraps of Peyton's Classic Wool. I used a size 5 or 3.75 millimeter needle for the ribbing and the size 7 or 4.5 millimeter needle for the rest of the hat. Both hats I just did the 3 stripes around instead of the whole hat being striped. So I had a question for everybody. If you've ever knit that pattern or any other pattern that calls for a tubular cast on, because I was knitting for Christmas and in a little bit of a time crunch, I chose just to cast on with the regular long tail cast on. But the pattern includes instructions on how to do a tubular cast on. If you've done one of those before, let me know what difference it makes to do that. Did you see a large difference with the tubular cast on? What's the purpose of it? I'm just curious for some of you more experienced knitters out there who may have done that before. The last finished object I actually do have to show you, and I finished 3 more dishcloths. These are for my neighbors, so they're larger ones than the ones I showed you last week. I did 3 of them. I used 2 balls of Peaches and Cream in the Spearmint Stripes colorway, and I got almost the perfect amount of yarn for 3 dishcloths. So 2 of these are the Grandmother's Favorite, and I used a size 8 needle, 5 millimeter needle. So the first 2 are the Grandmother's Favorite. I love these. They're just real simple. And the thing I love most about these is that you cast on 3 stitches or 4 stitches. So you only have to cast on 4, and then you only have to bind off 4. And casting on and binding off are probably 2 of my least favorite parts of knitting. That and finishing sometimes really gets to me. So that was one. This is one of the Grandmother's Favorites. And then I did a little, just made this one up. So this is not a pattern I found on Ravelry, although I bet there probably is one similar to it. I wanted to get the same look as the Grandmother's Favorite, but I wanted it to be straight across and not on the bias like the Grandmother's Favorite. So I just did one up like this. It's kind of looks wonky, but it's not really. So hopefully my neighbors will enjoy those. And that is it for developing play. Let's get on to the second period now. Okay, time to start the second period. Let's go on into the training room for a little while. It's been a rough fitness week for me. I probably haven't run in about a week and a half, but I have been on my stationary bike almost every night. So it's not that I haven't been doing any fitness, it's that fitness has become a chore. And I'm not a big fan of the stationary bike, but it gets the job done. And until the daylight hours start to return, it's just going to have to do. I have been thinking about joining a gym. There's one on my way home. The membership is very reasonable. I think about $25 a month. I may stop in there and find out more information. With me, a huge tip for me in regards to being successful in my fitness is that it has to be convenient. If I have to do anything other than put on my fitness clothes and go, then it's just one more hurdle for me to jump over. So the fact that this place is right on my way home and easy to get to and has parking and everything like that may be an option. We'll see. I would just like to have access to a treadmill. There's no room for a treadmill in my home, and nor is there room in the budget to purchase one, unless I find it, unless I found one on Craigslist or something for a cheaper price. But I'll keep you updated on that. I would rather not join a gym if I can help it, but I'm not going to be able to keep forcing myself to get on this stationary bike for much longer. And the weather is about to turn bad too, so we're expecting some snow by the end of the week, and definitely can't run in that. So, if you all have exercise videos that you enjoy, let me know what those are, because maybe that would be an option for me too. So that's it for the fitness parts, and I thought that all of you fiber artists would like a little tip on how to keep your hands a little bit smoother and moisturized in the wintertime. I've noticed as I've been knitting with all of this acrylic yarn for the holidays that my hands have gotten extremely rough. Well, for me anyway. I have to be careful with that because of the line of work that I'm in as a massage therapist. I can't have rough calluses and things that will scrape against the client's skin. But I notice around my cuticles and things like that in the wintertime it gets really rough. The yarn will get snagged on it and that sort of thing. And I had kind of forgotten about this because I just haven't done it in a while. But at the Christmas party I went to for work, we had a little Dirty Santa gift exchange. I'll talk more about that in the post-game chatter. But the gift I received was a Shea Sugar body scrub. And I was pretty excited when I got this. I was like, ooh, I used to do this for myself pretty often. Now this is a full body scrub, which a full body scrub takes a little bit of time and it can be kind of messy, and I actually gave one to myself yesterday. My husband had to help me, put it on my back. And basically what it is, it's a real, see if I can show you here. Oops, but see, it's messy. I just got some all over my notes. But if you look at that, it's kind of like you probably can't see because I don't have autofocus on this camera. But it is basically an exfoliating, so it's got little granules of sugar in it. And it's got some oils in it, and this one has all kinds of good stuff in it because it's store-bought. But you don't have to do this on your whole body. You can just do it on your hands or just do it on your feet. And what you do is you get just a little bit on your fingers, probably about like what you would use to, if you were going to shampoo your hair, about as much shampoo as you would use on your hair. And then you just rub it in. And you get it all over. You don't want to rub real hard. Once you feel what this feels like, you'll know it's very abrasive. So you don't want to rub yourself raw or anything like that. But just rub it in and kind of let it sit on your hands for a minute or two and then rinse it off. and you will notice an instant difference in the smoothness of your skin. I felt like $1,000,000 after my husband helped me with the body scrub yesterday. I did all of me except nothing from the neck up. These sugar scrubs aren't good for your face. They're too abrasive for the face. But yeah, I feel amazing. But you don't have to go to the store and buy a fancy one of those. You can get them usually at like natural body stores. They may even have them at drugstores and things. But what I like to do, or what I used to do all the time, was I would just take white sugar from my baking supplies, mix it up with some olive oil, or whatever oil of choice that you would prefer to put on your skin. I actually love jojoba oil. That's spelled Jojoba, jojoba oil. It's my very favorite to use on my skin. But I would mix that up to make it look like this kind of consistency where it's kind of pasty. And I would use that instead. And that's very inexpensive. Of course, the more fancy the oils you use, the more expensive it'll be. But still, I have no idea what that one costs. But I'm sure my baking sugar and olive oil was probably much more affordable than what that is. So that's just a little tip. I hope y'all enjoy that. And of course, it always helps to stay hydrated. Drink your water every day, and make sure that you're moisturizing your hands. So that is it for the training room. Okay, it's time to drop the puck for the third period and a little bit of hockey talk. So I was thinking, and I posted this on one of my threads in the Holding the Sticks group, I was thinking that perhaps some of you might be interested in learning a little bit more about hockey. When I started this podcast, I assumed people who weren't interested would just skip this portion of the podcast. But I have had several people express some interest in the game. So I was wondering if you would be interested in a small Hockey 101 segment within this period of the podcast, where I would explain how the game is played and the rules and things like that. So let me know what you think about that on the thread on my group for this episode. I think it would be a lot of fun to do that. And it would help me too. Hockey is a pretty complicated game in a lot of ways, and even though I've been a very big fan for about 4 years now, I'm still learning new things. There's a lot of intricate things that go on, so I still learn, and I think that in teaching you all about the basics of the game and then maybe getting into the more complicated aspects of it, that I would learn a lot as well. So let me know what you think. So my checkers have been doing much better this week. I'm very happy to report. They have won 4 games in a row, which is wonderful. The last 3 were played what's called a 3-in-3. That's where you play 3 games in 3 days. That's pretty hard. I can't even imagine having to do that. But the first game was played on Friday evening, and that was versus the Houston Aeros. And it was a shootout win. We won 3-2. And if you're not familiar with hockey, a shootout happens when you played 3 periods of hockey and wind up with a tie, and then you play a 5-minute overtime period, and still the score will be tied. And then what happens is each team takes a turn back and forth shooting on the other team's goalie. So one guy will come out with a puck and take a shot on the other team's goalie, and then, it'll go the other way. And whoever gets the most goals, to simplify things quite a lot, it's best 3 out of 5 in the AHL. And if it's still tied after that, then you keep going. But whoever has the most goals at the end of that wins the game. So those are always nerve-wracking. I don't like shootouts at all. I would rather have another overtime period instead of a shootout. It's just nerve-wracking to me, and my blood pressure goes up, and I'm biting my fingernails, what little fingernails I have. So I'm not a fan, but I'm glad we won that one. And Saturday, they played again. They played the Houston Aeros again. These were both home games in Charlotte. And Saturday's game happened at noon, so that was less than a 24-hour turnaround from the end of one game to the start of the next. And the Checkers won that one. That was a 3-0 shutout. So I didn't get to listen to most of that game because I was at work, but I did sneak into the break room and I got to hear the first period during my lunch break. That was really great. I got to hear the first goal getting scored, and I was really excited for that. In fact, I didn't have my headphones with me, so I had turned my iPhone down like really low, and I just had it up against my ear like this. And my coworker was sitting in there on his break, and he had his headphones on. He was playing some game on his computer, and that first goal was scored, and I kind of did this kind of thing, and he jumped out of his chair. He was like, ah! I said, I'm sorry. I didn't make any noise because I work at a spa and you need to be quiet and relaxing, so I felt bad, but I can't help it. I was just excited. I believe that was Justin Shug's goal, and that was his very first AHL goal too, so that made me even more happy. I might have that wrong, but I do know I heard his first goal sometime over this past weekend. Yesterday, Sunday, the Checkers had to travel to San Antonio from Charlotte, so that's quite a long journey. So after those two back-to-back, they had to get on a plane and fly to Houston and play their third for the 3-3, and they won that one as well. So that was 2-1. I only got to see the highlights from that game. I was at a friendly Christmas gathering. I almost said family. They might as well be family. We went down and had dinner with some friends, so I missed that game. And I'm sorry I missed it because the highlights looked amazing. So, and speaking of highlights, if you are an AHL fan or would like to learn more about the AHL, you can go to the AHL website, of course. I'll link that in the show notes. But the place where I go to watch my highlights, you can usually catch the radio broadcasts online, and you can pay to watch games online, and that is at AHL Live. I will link that as well. It's not the kind of web address you can say out loud and the people would understand how to spell it and everything, so it's just better for me to link it. So that is it for my hockey talk for today, and let's get into some post-game chatter. Okay, let's get into some post-game chatter. Today I am sitting in my craft room on a dreary Monday. It's been raining for a couple of days. I hope my lighting has been all right today. It looks like it's okay from what I've seen so far. But I am sipping on some spiced apple cider, which is one of my very favorite things. I don't indulge very often, but on a rainy day like today, I thought I could indulge today. And I'm drinking this out of a hand-thrown pottery mug that was made by a student at Appalachian State University. I received this in the gift exchange at my office Christmas party. Just like I thought they would, things have calmed down at work this week. We've all gotten used to the new equipment, and we've brought in a new skincare line and everything, so our estheticians, the ladies who give facials, have had a little bit more of a transition than I have as a massage therapist. I've only had to deal with new linens and a new table, so that's what we call the bed that our clients lay on when we give them a massage. We call it a table. So I'm glad things are calming down, and I work with a great bunch of people. So we had our office Christmas party a couple of nights ago. Saturday night, my coworker and manager Denise hosted a Christmas party at her beautiful home. I had such a good time. like I said, I adore the people I work with, and we had a Dirty Santa gift exchange, and that's where you probably already know what it is. But for anybody who doesn't know what a Dirty Santa gift exchange is, everybody brings a gift, and it's wrapped so you can't see what it is, and you put them all on a table or under the tree in our case, and then everybody draws a number, and number one gets to choose a gift first, and they'll open their gift, and then number two will choose a gift. And the rules that we played with were that before they unwrapped their gift, they could either steal the gift from number one or open the gift that they had chosen. So, and it went down the line, and then, the first person who chose got the option to steal any gift. So so it was a lot of fun. I have never done a Dirty Santa gift exchange where almost nobody stole a gift from somebody else. We all decided that we would unwrap and keep the ones that we got. So I think a couple people may have traded after the fact, but the gift that I brought was a hand knit hat, and the perfect person, I think, wound up with that hat. The hat was done in autumn colors. It was a Knit Picks Chroma in I think it was called New England colorway. It's a real autumny. I don't think they have that colorway anymore, but it went really well with her coloring. She's a redhead, and she put it on. It looked just beautiful on her, so I was so happy. And she was really happy too. So we had a lot of fun. There was so much food, oh my goodness. According to Denise, the owner of the spa, had gone shopping, and Denise kept saying, "I think we have too much food," and he said, "Well, I'll be so embarrassed if we run out. We better have too much rather than too little." And literally, he had enough food for a party probably 5 times the size of the one that we had, but it was delicious. So, and after that party, we came home, and then the next day, so yesterday, we decided we would go and have dinner in Hickory with some very good friends of ours. And I'm so thankful that Rob invited us down to do that. I'm not very good at planning for social things or, figuring out, if it had been left to me, then our Christmas gathering probably would have taken place at a Valentine's Day, because I'm terrible with that. So I'm really thankful that Rob took the initiative and invited us down. We just went out, the 4 of us, to the Old Hickory Tap Room down in Hickory, North Carolina. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive from my house to there. And they have wonderful pub food there, and of course they have good adult beverages as well. I decided to have a glass of wine, which I rarely do, but I figured it was Christmas, and it had been a long weekend, busy weekend, a lot of fun, but busy. And I had some fish and chips, and then we went back to Rob's house and just hung out for a while. It was a lot of fun, good times, good friends. So we are less than a week now from Christmas Eve. I guess we are exactly a week from Christmas Eve. So Christmas planning is coming to a head now. I have taken on the crazy task of doing a little something for each of the people that I work with. There are about 15 employees where I work, and I have made a little something for each of them. And I still need to make the rest of their gift today, so I will be pouring some soap today. I do the melt and pour kind of soaps, and what I do is I make a kitchen soap with coffee grounds, and when you wash your hands in the soap, it will take off the smell of onion and garlic and things like that, those tough smells to remove. So that will be, it's pretty easy to make those, but it's a little bit time consuming when you're making that many of them. I need to make about 15 or 20 bars, so that's what I'll be doing after I finish the podcast today. And then, of course, I need to tidy the house and get it ready for Mom's visit. I'm so excited. But other than that, I think that's about it for this week. I hope that all of you have a wonderful holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or all of the above, or the solstice. Enjoy the end of the world parties on the 21st. I know a lot of people are having those, including my local yarn shop. I get such a kick out of that. But anyway, until next time, may your projects and your favorite hockey teams stay out of the penalty box. Bye-bye.